What's good, YouTube? I'm coming back with another video, and this one is on Jay Dreamers. If you don't know about him, I highly advise go check out his channel, cause he gonna break it down to the nitty gritty for you. But today we gonna talk about giants and silicone trees, the giant trees like in Avatar. We gonna talk about just the old world and how it used to be. He gonna break everything down on why Earth is formed and why we have mountains and all that today. He gonna break it down. So let's get into it.
Let's take What's up, YouTubers? This is Jay Dreamers coming at you with a video of pure speculation, laying the groundwork for the beginning of piecing together.
Now, let me stop it right here already. You may be like, speculation? Why is he talking about speculating? Why is he guessing? My nigga, mostly everything is guesswork. Science isn't nothing but guesswork. A whole bunch of niggas in white lab coats guessing shit. That's why it's called theories. Okay, so everybody is able to make a theory as long as you're critically thinking and using your brain. Everybody can make a theory. Just because they got a piece of paper, they some certified, quote unquote, don't mean nothing. They can lie to you just like everybody else, right? You reading the book, you just reading somebody else's thoughts, right? So pretty much this is all you doing, is coming up with a theory, which makes way more sense than what they be talking about. We living on a floating ball of water going through the earth 3,000 miles, whatever, however fast, through the damn sky and shit, chaotically spinning around other planets. My nigga, no, that shit don't even make sense. So yeah, we just gonna jump into this and just hear him out. Have an open mind to listen to him.
A story that will include recent revelations to the world that we live in today. Feel free to add to the story I'm about to tell. Go with what resonates and put your own clues into it as well. We'll begin by saying that this is a story told from a flat earth perspective. Given the flat earth map, I will be including elements such as the barrier or dome around our plane of existence and other planes as well. So let's start by looking at the map of ancient Norse mythology known as Yggdrasil and other cosmologies that have been presented to us in an array of expanding three-dimensional viewpoints. Let's take those and let's lay them down flat and place them on a flat world. Now first, I might use the word planet sometimes, and I just wanted to explain briefly that I believe that the word planet comes from the word plane and the word et. Plane et. And et in French means small or little. And we have other words such as cigarette or marionette, vinaigrette, kitchenette, featurette, small things. So our plane is a small plane of existence among many planes of existence. That being said, and that groundwork being laid, let's move forward.
Okay, so I kind of want to explain that. If you know anything about Spanish, right, you know how they say ito, like perrito, for they little. Anything that's like small, little, right? They add ito at the end. So it I guess, is our way of pretty much saying their ito is our it. So if you put it on the end of like vinaigrette, like he's just said, kitchenette, shit like that is small, right? So that's pretty much the equivalent of Spanish ito, like perrito, little puppy, right? Okay, so I just wanted to add that in there.
Discuss that on these other planes of existence that are outside of our small plane, we also have other races of beings, other sentient beings that have called their little planes home. And they have grown or evolved or matured at their own pace and at their own speed. And many of these races on other planes, should they come to our plane, would seem alien to us. And so I am proposing that this is where we get our concept of alien life forms from, is these other planes of existence along the great plane that we call in home. The earliest forms of our pre-recorded history, myths and legends, we have a paradise on our particular plane. We have a paradise filled with giant creatures, giant trees, and I will use the word tree because that's the only word I know of that can describe what these things were, because I don't think they were trees as we see trees today. There's probably...
Okay, so just like they say, if you believe gravity is real, I'm not saying gravity ain't real. It's just not what they saying it is, right? Because if gravity was real, how would it not be squishing and killing us right now? It's holding down buildings. It's holding, supposedly, quote unquote, a whole bunch of water, a ball of water on this supposedly, quote unquote, ball earth, right? Round earth. If it was that strong, that means it would have to have smarts too, because it would crush even butterflies. It would crush little shit. It would crush us. It would crush cars. It would crush things. If gravity was the way that they say it is, because it has to hold something down, right? So if it's strong enough to hold down shit that's tons, that weighs tons, then that means it should be crushing us. So then if that means that, it would have to have some smartness to it at that point. So yeah, it's definitely not. Trees ain't what they say they used to be. They trees now, but they wasn't trees back then.
Much better word for them, and they were probably known as something else a long time ago. But for the sake of simplicity, I will refer to them as massive giant trees. So we have a world filled with giant trees and giant vegetation and giant life forms. And I mean giant compared to what we are used to today. And we have a race of beings that dwelt within these trees and among these trees and in this garden. And I will refer to them as an elven race, all right? Not human, not people as I am today and as you are watching, but a similar race to mankind that dwelt amongst the trees and had a vastly different way of life than we do today. So, we had this paradise on this plane filled with its native inhabitants, the elven people. And it might not be elves the way we think of elves, but it's just what I'm calling them. And then we have a group introduced to us known as the Watchers. So let's say we have these various puddles, these various ponds, these planes of existence, right, outside of our domed plane. And let's say that they had figured out a way to transverse from plane to plane, that they had figured out how to travel from various plane to various planes. And let's say that, remember this is all speculation, but let's just say that they came up with a set of guidelines or rules or laws to live by when traveling to these various planes of existence. And one of those rules was, when you first come to this plane, do not interfere but simply observe. And these observers became known to the early inhabitants of this plane as those that watch, the watchers. They became aware of their existence and called them the ones that watch. Well, some of the ones that were the watchers at some point in time broke this rule to only observe and watch, and they came down to participate in this plane of existence with the native inhabitants of the time. So we have these watchers coming down, and with their interference, they bring with them new ideas, new feelings, new thoughts on life to the inhabitants of this plane. Now, let's keep in mind that it...
Okay, so if you don't know, if you're watching this video, most likely you already know. But if you don't know and you're watching this video, who breaks this down that I be watching? Flat Earth Dave. Who else? It's a couple other people. I can't think of their name, but Flat Earth Dave does a good example of breaking down how the flat Earth and the other planes of existence around us. Okay, because me trying to explain that would kind of make this video a little too long, but pretty much it's like lily pads. Think of lily pads are like craters on the moon. We're surrounded by other craters and lily pads, but we live on this one. This, you feel me, like right in the center of the earth. We live in that one. And then on the outside, it's other rings, because we got a dome on this lily pad, this crater. Then outside of that is another world where they got a dome. He gonna explain a little bit about it, but not too much. Flat Earth Dave, he breaks it down, because me trying to break that down will make this video a little too long. That's a whole nother topic on this show.
These watchers from whatever plane they were from could transverse and come into our plane, then we could probably go into theirs as well. But other planes of existence could also jump from puddle to puddle, from plane to plane. And so nearby we have a plane of giants, a realm of giants. And I mean giants. The people that were native to our plane, I believe, were much bigger than we are today, but by no means they were the giants miles high that were from another plane.
Oh, and I just got another download. Okay, so you know how people be like, well, if there's a dome, if we got a dome over us, how come you can't see the edge of it? Okay, so he gonna kinda break it down, but I feel like my theory is that I think we can't see the edge. And I just got this download. I just got this. You feel me? This thought just came to me. I feel like we can't see the edge of the earth, the dome, because pretty much the earth too, but because it's under the ground. Now, back in the ancient days, it was exposed. You could see the edge of the dome, and that's how they was able to get in, get out, because they had like some type of way to, you feel me, they knew where the exit was, right? But today it's covered up by a bunch of dirt and mud and water and stuff because of the flood that happened, the Great Flood, and because the giants, he gonna explain it, but they was digging, making mountains, and so because of that flood, probably washed some of that dirt, covered up the edge. That's why you can't see like literally where the edge of, like, you can't see it sitting down on the ground, because he gonna break it down a little bit.
And I like to give a good illustration of this by the Yggdrasil plane. the Yggdrasil cosmology. I'll try to show a picture of it, where it shows all of these circles as planes of existence. We'll look at them as being flat, and perhaps the realm of the gods, or God, or whoever, is maybe above us, above the dome, or what have you. I don't know. But let's get back on track. So we have the giants now find out about our plane of existence, and they traverse into our plane of existence, which means that if there was a dome back at this time, there was some way that creatures from other planes had figured out how to enter into our dome, into our plane, and how to leave our plane as well. So the giants came here, and ancient resources tell us that these aliens that came to our plane of existence basically came looking for materials that they needed in their plane of existence that would be useful to them. So I speculate that they came here to excavate for our resources, to mine for our resources, to take them back to their own plane of existence. And so these giants, seemingly unstoppable, came in and began to use, by their own means and methods, giant forms of tools or technology or machines or what have you, to tear down those resources that would be valuable to them where they're from, being our giant silicone trees, being the resources in and under the world that we live in.
Okay, so now if y'all have heard of the Anunnaki, right? Supposedly there was a race of beings who came, or aliens if you want to say, but a race of beings who came from another planet, another plane, just another plane from around us, not from out of the earth, just another plane from around us. They came from another planet, and so they was looking for gold. So because they needed gold particle dust to put in the air of their planet, right? So my theory is that those giants that he talking about was maybe the Anunnaki, right? Then they was digging for, like he said, resources. It may not have been gold, but digging for some type of resources, right? To take back to their plane or planet, okay? And then they didn't want to do, they created us, the worker race, to start mining and digging for, to take back to their plane. And that's where we come from. Short form of the Anunnaki. That's kind of what I'm getting from what he's saying right there.
And I speculate that they excavated this world and this plane, and essentially in doing so tore it apart. And I believe that this would bring turmoil.
I already watched this too. I watched all the way up to I watched a good couple amount of these videos last night, and I was getting all type of downloads. So I may not be able to explain it like I was able to explain it then, but I'm gonna get it out for sure. Because I was watching these videos last night or this morning, getting all types of downloads.
This would bring chaos to the native inhabitants here, and I'm sure that they would be introduced to things such as war, jealousy, hate, pride, a lot of negative things that they were not used to, because it seems that they had a belief system or an understanding of the world they lived in where they were one with all things. So all of this destruction and all of this taking away instead of adding to was a new concept to them. But I do believe that they may have been forced to wage war on these giant beings. So, that being said, These giants scraped the land. They chopped down the trees, leaving today, thousands of years later, evidence in the form of these mesas, which are ancient leftover tree stumps.
And we all know about those.
Valleys, canyons, and the areas that are now known as oceans. I'm not sure that the oceans used to exist. I think this world was so fertile because perhaps waters came up from below and everything that grew got what it needed from underneath. And I'm not sure that the oceans existed.
Now, if you know anything about farming, because I was trying to grow weed. I was just trying to grow weed not too like a couple of weeks ago. And the seed, it's always hard for me to get it past the little seedling stage, right? Okay, so if you know anything about that, you know that you can, I forgot what they call it, but it's a method where you put the water in the pan instead of watering on the top, like pouring the water in the dirt on the plant. You put the water in the pan and got holes in the bottom of the plant so where it can just soak up the soil from the bottom. That's what I'm getting from this. And that makes sense because they even say that it helps because it takes the water that it needs. You're not like over soaking it. It just takes the water that it needs. So if you don't know about that, I forgot who I was watching. Cannabis Grows or something like that. If you don't know, search up on that. So that makes sense to me. That makes sense.
Then, so the land that is now the ocean was carved so deep.
And not saying that it wasn't no water. He's not saying it was no water. Just oceans as we know them as today. So deep and vast and so deep. It's like how the hell can how you know what I'm saying? Like it's dark as hell down there. That's not those oceans. It was water here, but not like that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
Created the biggest valleys on our plane of existence, the biggest empty spaces. The giants deposited large amounts of their leftovers from their excavating and mining that piled up that we call today mountains. And the giant waste that they would dump down would create these hills that had made some sort of reaction underneath.
Hitting your goals has nothing to do with discipline.
The real culprit is friction, and it slowly erodes your progress.
Unlike what most people
to create immense heat, and they would spill out from time to time, and this is what we know as volcanoes. And just a quick note, remember in 9/11, you know, people proposed that thermite was used, and that thermite and all that heated material stayed at the bottom of all of the rubble for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it was almost like lava was down underneath all the rubble at 9/11. Well, think about that on a massive scale, that these giants are depositing all of this waste and byproduct and rubble, and now it is forming immense amounts of heat that last for a long time. So
okay, so you may be like, what? Now, if you really think about it, that makes more sense, because what do the scientists tell you? The quote-unquote professionals, what do they tell you? They tell you, oh, mountains was formed over millions of years ago from the tectonic plates crashing together and the earth crashing together, or the terraforms of the land crashing together, and then it creates a hill, a mountainous-like structure. What? Or water was running through this, water was running through here at high speeds for millions of years or something, for whatever, and it carved out this path and made these two. What? That don't make sense. This makes more sense than anything. Giants excavating the land, dumping the land in tall ass mountainous hills, that if you was to dump dirt and shit, it would make a mountain looking structure now take over millions of years or thousands of years of that dirt and land being there is going to turn back into rock, is going to turn back into it's going to pretty much form together and form up a hard structure. It's going to grow algae, it's going to grow back, it's going to start looking like a mountain over millions of years. It's going to grow grass back. If it's not that tall, it's going to be a small little mound. Come on, man. That critical thinking, that makes way more sense than over thousands of years the tectonic plates was crashing together and it formed this mountain structure. No, that shit don't even make sense.
These giants basically destroy paradise.
That's why they wanted to take, that's why they take your imagination away. That's why they take your imagination away. When you get older, because think about it. Unless you're like an artist, a musician, something where you have to have some type of form of imagination, a movie maker, which they don't even have, they see shit and take the movie and make, or they see shit and take it and make it into a movie. That's not imagine. You can't just imagine some of the shit they come up with. You have to see that shit. But yeah, that's why they take away your imagination. They make you. That's why they pretty much take that away, because they don't want you to figure this shit out. They don't want you to find out who you truly are. You gotta look within. Everybody's searching without, looking outside themselves. You gotta go within yourself too to find answers, because you hold the answers as well.
Plane as it was once known, and the inhabitants of this plane fought against them as best they could, and maybe even fled from here to other planes. But somehow the cry was heard, because this was a serious thing happening, and it seems to me that somewhere out there other beings, maybe from other planes, or maybe from the world above us of gods or God or higher beings, perhaps someone was watching the devastation going on here on our plane, and it may be that the command was given after much debate and much thought about the repercussions, that something had to be done to get rid of these giants which were destroying this plane completely. And so the command was given to open up the dome, which held above it the waters above, and to unleash a deluge, and a giant massive amounts of water came down to flood this plane of existence, to drive out the giants, which in turn would also destroy lots of other forms of life. But because this plane of existence was already almost completely destroyed anyways, perhaps it was decided that this was the best course of action. So the giants fled, left through the barriers, through the portals of the dome, and some of them stayed, and some of them survived, and maybe some of the watchers stayed, and some of them survived as well. To be continued, I'll make a part 2. Thanks for watching.
Now, I ain't gonna lie, I just got to download, because I'm always wondering, I'm always thinking about, like, what is the desert? I've got a couple answers from channels that I'll be watching, but not really explaining exactly, right? So I just got to download at the end of this video. And what I think the desert is, because also if you watch Mud Fossils University, shout out to him. If you watch that, you'll know that some of these rocks that you call rocks or stones is actually fossils of remnants, older remnants of giants and shit like that, or you know what I'm saying, fish or anything. It's just older, some rocks and shit. Go watch Mud Fossils if you don't know. So I think the desert, because when somebody dies, right, I think the desert is just giants, and it was like graveyard of dead shit. Because okay, so for me to even get there, let me start here. The old ancient people they wasn't really, supposedly there was silica, right? The theory was there was silica that was made out of like, there was something else. There was like crystalline glowing beams, right? So when they decay away, they might not decay away like we do, right? Our skin kind of just decomposes, right? Theirs might have turned into all that sand. If it was some type of silica, different being, think about when it decomposes. It's going to turn into all that, because when you think about it now, what is skin? What is dead skin? It flakes off and you know, it crumbles. If you put it all together, it might just look like a bunch of sand or something. Not sand literally, but like it literally. Now, what if that's what the desert, because if the desert used to be Amazon rainforest and shit, right? So I don't know. That's just a theory. Who knows? It might not be, but hey, we don't even know. Everything's a lie today. All you can do is just put guesswork on shit. That's what them damn scientists and shit do. They don't know either. They wasn't from back then, so how is they gonna know? They wasn't born back then. Oh, but they do know. They just don't tell us the truth, because some of them is in the bloodline family and they pass that shit on down. So whatever we do know, we won't really know. But what I do know is, that's the end of this video. And the next one, I'm gonna react to some TikTok. So I'm gonna just react to a little bit of everything and see what the audience is. And you know, we gonna get it there. But I'm on to the next one for us.